Thanks for checking out this video. This is the 1994 installment of the 1990s horror movie superlative series I'm doing with your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. I have linked his channel in the description so you can, after you get done with my video, go over to his channel, watch his video of the same name to get his picks for 1994, then come back to my channel, go to the community tab, and vote for whose picks you like the most or whose picks lined up with yours the most. And on that note, also, go ahead and comment on both our videos. Let us know your picks or comment about our picks or both of those things. And also make sure you subscribe to both of us and hit the notification bell button because we're putting up a lot of good stuff and we are not just doing this. So anyway, let me get into my picks for 1994. So for the most amazing film, I actually just saw it for the first time. It's been on my list to get to for a long time. Interview with the Vampire. Now, just look at the cast alone on this one. Based off an Anne Rice novel that was very, very popular, very influential within the vampire story realm. And a cast comprised of Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Antonio Banderas, Christian Slater, and a young Kirsten Dunst. Everyone does a great job, obviously. So the acting is totally top-notch. It looks really good. It's really well directed. And the material is very interesting. I don't like to pick vampire-related material because it all feels very old to me, except this is something very new. It's literally a more, in a way, mundane look at kind of like the life of a vampire. It kind of approaches vampirism from the perspective of not just victims, but from the perspective of what is a life like to live like this. And it's something that films really hadn't gotten into a whole lot as far as vampire films go. So it gives this in-depth kind of telling of one particular vampire's life and all the crazy things that have happened throughout his life for so many years, decades, centuries, whatever it ends up spanning. So, like I said, acting is wonderful. The story is very interesting. It's extremely engaging, and it's a very good film. I really don't think this is one that a lot of people could argue with as being a really good film. So, glad I finally saw it, because obviously it made my pick as most amazing for 1994, Interview with the Vampire. Excuse me. Now going to my best So Bad It's Good film. I don't own this yet, but I'm going to own it at some point soon. Mosquito. This is what it sounds like. It is about an attack of giant mosquitoes. How do these mosquitoes get so giant? Literally a spacecraft crashes on the planet and an alien dies, and in the beginning a mosquito drinks the alien's blood. Then you get, for some reason, tons of gigantic mosquitoes. So it's like alien mutant mosquitoes. The mosquitoes look really good. The film is very over the top and ridiculous. The acting is not great, but it has Gunnar Hansen in it, and apparently this was his favorite role he's ever done, which you can see why. Like, it looks like he's having a really good time with it. There's a really fun nod to his role as Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's a lot of good practical effects in this, including someone who gets sucked dry, or I think maybe two someones, who you see getting sucked dry by the mosquitoes, and not only getting sucked dry, but then their eyes explode. And it's just bad acting, ridiculous action, cool effects. It's fun. It's just fun. And it is by far, in my opinion, for what I've seen for 94, the best So Bad It's Good film out there. If you have not seen Mosquito, do yourself a favor. If you like So Bad It's Good films, it is so much fun. Watch Mosquito. So that's my pick for best So Bad It's Good. Now for the most WTF film, and I could see some people picking this for best So Bad It's Good, and that's Tammy and the T-Rex. It's literally a film about a person played by Paul Walker, R.I.P. Paul Walker, who gets killed, and then his brain by a mad scientist is put into the body of an animatronic T-Rex. And then he's going around exacting revenge on people who put him in the situation that ended up killing him. This movie is definitely a So Bad It's Good film, but there's a lot of WTF to it. There are a lot of really weird choices, including a fight that ends up in just very excessive, aggressive crotch grabbing. It's a really weird film. And even like the end of the film, what ends up happening with the preservation of the main character's brain, it's something. Also, Denise Richards is in this, if you wanted to know that. And Terry Kaiser, the guy who played Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. It's interestingly acted, I will say. A lot of kind of over-the-top characters and a lot of over-the-top things happening. And like I said, it is very WTF. There's a lot of left field stuff that just happens with the film. This was literally filmed like kind of quickly. The guy who ended up shooting it had a friend who had access to this animatronic T-Rex, and he contacts the guy and was like, look, I have this access to this animatronic T-Rex for like 2 weeks. I think you should make a film around this. So that's why it's kind of not a good film, because the script was really slapped together. You can tell that in the film, but it gave us kind of like a so bad it's good masterpiece, but so many WTF moments in the film. You won't know where this film's going, definitely, but it's a lot of fun, and I picked Tammy and the T-Rex for my most WTF. I think it's still on Shudder at the moment, by the way. Now going to Best Gore. I do own this one. I own the whole franchise on Blu-ray, which I love. Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead. This one has really good gore. It's not just gore in the sense of, you know, people getting sucked dry by the spheres in this, just like this. Which those are still cool. Like, I love still seeing that where the prongs stick into the people's foreheads, the drill comes out, and then you see this blood just spurting out of the other side. It's excessive. But there's also some of the reanimated zombie types that now serve the tall man, who end up just having explosions of, I guess it's embalming fluid from their bodies, and also just seeing like the spheres that are stuck in their heads and flying out of their heads. There's just so much good gore in this, and it's also just a fun film. I think it's actually a good installment in it. I know a lot of people don't really like past the second Phantasm, but I actually think there's a lot to really like in this third one. So I'm not picking this as most amazing, no, but gore, I think definitely of everything I've seen in 94, it has the best gore. Hands down. It's pretty over the top and excessive, but it's a lot of fun. That's what we're looking for films like this. So my best gore pick for 94, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead. Now that leads me to the most unique, and I also do own this one. And I'm sure a lot of people won't argue with this one. In the Mouth of Madness. Very interesting John Carpenter film, pretty underrated in my opinion, although it does get talked about here and there, about a insurance investigator who tries to go to a town that actually doesn't exist to try and find the author of these books who's gone missing. He then finds out that the influence that his books are having are just out there, pretty crazy. So it really does play this kind of game of like what's real, what's not real with the film. That really goes pretty deep, and there's a lot of very interesting things that are coming alive from the books of the author Sutter Kane, who's obviously kind of like a Stephen King type individual. But it's a lot of fun. It's super unique in its premise. You got Sam Neill in it, who does an amazing job. Always does an amazing job, Sam Neill. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a great film. I could see people putting this as most underrated for 1994, to be honest, but great film, a lot of fun, super unique. So that's my pick, In the Mouth of Madness. Now the most overrated. Probably not a big surprise because of the last one of these I chose, which is going to be Leprechaun 2. Yes, this is the whole collection, unfortunately. Wasn't big on the first one. Set that as a pick for overrated. Number 2, in the same vein. It's even worse than the first one. There wasn't a whole lot to like in the first film except Warwick Davis's performance. The writing's not great. There isn't much of a story to it. You know, killer leprechaun, blah, blah, blah. In this one, he's trying to get a bride. By the way, excuse me if there's a barking dog. I can't control my neighbors, unfortunately. Hopefully you don't hear it, though, because of my microphone. But, yeah, so the leprechaun is trying to find a bride in this one, and that's basically the whole premise of it. It's pretty boring, just like the first one. It's a lot of kind of like eye-roll-inducing one-liners that get thrown out by Warwick Davis playing the leprechaun. But like I said, you know, like in the first film, like he's the best part of it, and it's just not a great film. These are all like low-budget garbage for the most part. So I don't know if a lot of people really love it, but it's definitely overrated in my opinion. So my most overrated pick, Leprechaun 2. And that brings me to the most underrated pick. And I don't own this one, but I might be interested in owning it at some point. A lot of people probably haven't even seen it. I hadn't even heard of it until I was looking at all the films that came out in 94. And it's a film called Funny Man. It is a British film, and it has a lot of kind of dry humor in it. The whole premise initially is about a bunch of people who go to this kind of like castle estate, and they end up waking up this like jester, this like murderous spirit of a jester, who actually looks pretty decently put together from a effects and costuming standpoint. Initially, it starts very cheesy and ridiculous and over the top and not that great. And you're like, ooh, this is going to be just a bad one. But it really starts to pick up after the first like 15, 20 minutes, to be honest. And a lot of the gags they have going on are actually pretty funny. It's really this funny man killing people in interesting ways. He toys with them a lot, and he just makes a joke out of their deaths. That's really all you need to know about it. You should definitely see it if you haven't before. I got some really good laughs out of it, to be honest, which I was not expecting, and for that reason, it's a very underrated film. Like I said, I've heard nobody talk about this film. I hadn't even heard about this film until I was just literally looking through a roster of all the horror movies that came out in 1994. There are actually some pretty solid kills in this, too, some decent practical effects. Again, not early on, but when the film like really starts going. But it's all about the humor in this one. And if you like some good, horror comedies, this would be a good one to watch, especially if you're also okay with like dry British humor, which I am, obviously. But it's a fun one. Would love to know if other people have seen it. Probably not a lot, but yeah, so Funny Man is my pick for most underrated for 1994. So obviously, that's all my picks. Hopefully you enjoyed them. Like I said, comment on my video, comment on your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete's, whose channel's linked in the description. Come back here, vote on the community tab, and yeah, we're just doing that for fun, I mean, there will be a winner announced basically, and the winner will get the other person will cover a movie of their choice with their channel. For him, it would be his Nails in the Coffin series, and for me, it would just be one of my review analysis videos of that movie. So I still have to pay up for 1970s, but that'll be on the way. But anyway, hopefully everyone enjoyed this. Thank you for taking your time to check out this video, and until next time, keep it brutal.